All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Coach Michael Burt, live from the Greatness Factory. Man, have we had a big day today, coaching companies, coaching people, free webinars, live streams, Instagrams, right? Like anything we can do to stimulate our own economy. And hopefully we're a model to everybody out there in the world that during times of crisis, during times of what you would think would slow people down, I want to show people that this is actually a time to expand. I want to get you into a mindset that we go to bed tired and we wake up hungry, right? It all goes to zero at midnight. Like there comes a time when winter asks what you did all spring and summer. So one of my strategies has been partnering with some strategic partners during this period and really bringing people of interest, people of expertise to the equation. And this afternoon, I got a fascinating subject with Lisa Patrick all the way from Canada, right? You're in Canada?
Woohoo! Yeah, you betcha. Snow still on the ground.
I love that. I love that. You betcha, right? I love that. So thank you for joining me, Lisa. We've known each other for a couple of years now, and you're really proven to be a big asset to a lot of people. You're a great connector. You really have you and I share a similar relentless spirit that we have about attacking life and attacking success and connecting. But you also have a real strong skill set in DISC personality profiling or DISC personality assessments. And we have a new division of our company called Monster Assessments, which is a key element to what we're doing now, understanding how to coach people, what motivates people, what demotivates people. And what I wanted to engage with you in this afternoon from this division of Monster Assessments is really what can we expect from people based on their personalities during this period? Because I know my personality, high D, I know like I wake up every morning, it's going to be a fight, but we're going to find a way to win. Like intensity, urgency, frustration. Like that's me. Like when I get backed in the corner, I come out swinging. But not everybody comes out swinging when they get backed in the corner. So let's talk through that. I mean, most people would consider this a national crisis. It's affected people's mindsets. It's affected people's ability to earn income in their mind. Let's go through how different personality styles respond to times of stress and crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I think for you and for anyone who's watching this right now or will watch the recording later, you have to understand there's 4 different kinds of personalities. You've got a dominant personality, which is me and you, right? We're competitive. We're, get to the grind, do it our way, just get us the results, right? Then you've got the influencer personality who really is fast-paced and people orientated. So they love to share their ideas, but they might not necessarily understand how the pieces of how it's all going to fit together. They just like them ideas. They want to be part of the life of the party, right? Then you've got the steady person who really wants to have the team involved, and it's a team environment, and they want to set the pace as far as how things are going to happen in the room and make sure that everybody's involved. And then you've got the conscientious person who really is, that's the person who looks at logic and data and analytics, and they're slow paced, they're retreat in times of crisis. So if you're a dominant personality like you and I, and we're hammering on how are you gonna do this, how are you gonna do, they're gonna retreat back. They're not going to respond well because that's their personality. So you have to adapt your personality style to those team members or to those clients in those particular situations, because they're not going to respond and you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. And you and I, we're all about the results, right?
Now, question would be, the first question that comes to my mind, if we're in a sales environment, can a high S and a high C be good salespeople? Because you're going to hear a lot of people. I remember when some of the companies that have hired me to be their coach, they either looked at the DISC or the PI, predictive index, or they looked at certain things. And as soon as they saw my profile, they're like, yes, we're hiring you as our coach. Can a high S or a high C be good salespeople, or does it need to be all high Ds? Because I think that's a lot. Like you're right. Like right now, during this cycle, my mindset is we're going to make 150 calls a day. We're going to attack. We're going to create business. We're going to be in reality. We're going to that's the mindset of me. But so talk to the people out there that don't have that personality. Like, can they be good salespeople? Are they going to be marginal salespeople? How can they win in that environment?
Well, I think it's like with anything, right, Coach? I mean, you and I both know when you give people the right tools to be effective, it's about understanding what tool an S person or a C person needs in order to work in that position. And so, you and I talk a lot about, different tools that you can use. And I came down to teach the team about the different personality styles from a sales perspective, as far as if you've got an S person or a C person, what are some of the indicators? So let's talk a little bit more about a person who has an S personality and they're a steady personality. You've got to be able to give them the right tools to adapt their communication style to move into the D position, so that makes a great salesperson, because you've just identified that the person who's a dominant person is a good salesperson.
Yeah. So when you think about this is very important. It's interesting because we've been using this tool in our coaching program this month. And we were talking about when you're making a sale, I believe sales begins through initiation, right? Like there's an effort, there's an outbound effort, there's a text message, there's a phone call, there's a meeting scheduled. And then you want to disarm, excuse me, then you want to disarm the person through connection. And if you understand your personality and you understand the other person's personality, you can sell to them in the way they want to be sold to. So let's take that for example, because this is very critical. For years, I tried to sell people the way I wanted to be sold. Okay. And the way I want to be sold is quick, to the point. Show me how you can solve a problem. Give me 3 options. Like, right. I don't need long explanations. I need to know, how are you going to add to this equation?
What? You don't want the blueprint of how to get it done? Come on.
So to me, the people that go around the world and, to me, I'm like, I'm out, man. I ain't got time for that. But let's talk about that, because I've been teaching this concept of connection, and I try to tie it to the disc. Like when you really understand what a C needs when you're selling them. Do they need more assurance? Do they need more data? Do they need more progress? All right. Like talk about how to sell to each personality style, starting with the D.
All right. So here's a really great tool. You and I, can you see this?
Yes.
You and I use this tool all the time, right? And we use what we call these cards to help. And so when you're looking at a D personality, we know straight to the point, options. But when you're looking at a C personality, somebody who they need to know exactly how does what you're offering, what service or product, what does it look like? What's the ABCs? What's the logic? How do I get to the results, and what are the results? But when you're looking at an S personality, they just want to know, how am I going to get my team involved? What's that going to look like? And when you're looking at an influencer, how am I going to be the great person who thought up of the idea? You want to showcase them. And so it's really not necessarily about the product or service, but it's understanding who you're talking to and then positioning. It's practicing Tony Alessandra's platinum rule. So we all know what the golden rule is. And the golden rule is treat others how you'd like to be treated, just like you talked about. But really, the value is treat others how they want to be treated. And you practice that platinum rule, and you will win every single time. It just might take longer with somebody who's a conscientious personality, because they need facts, data, logic. So in the follow-up, it might not take 1 or 2 phone calls. It might take 5 or 8 phone calls for you to actually win the sale. Make sense?
Yes. And so, I think a lot of people need to understand this, because this is the advantage. If you're looking for an unfair advantage, and I think we all are, we're trying, like I always said, a good coach gives you a competitive intelligence. They give you an advantage. Who's coaching you gives you an advantage. Well, absolutely. When you understand the personality, and for years, I'll be the first one to say it, I didn't even believe in personality profiles. I didn't use personality profiles. And let me tell you where that came from. When I was a coach, I was coaching kids, and kids yield to authority a lot better than adults do. Okay. So I would tell the kids, and I had a consequence. If you didn't do what I tell you to do, you sit on the bench. Right. And most kids say, well, I want to play, so I'm going to kind of yield to what you're saying here. Well, I started coaching adults, and they don't yield. they don't train as well as kids do. And so what I begin to understand is, there's something to this personality, because the disc shows you this will motivate this person. This will demotivate. This is the structure they need to be in. Right. Under stress, this is what they'll do. So let's go through these. So let's go through under stress right now, because lots of people out there, I'm doing a lot of webinars for people out in the world. and I'm coaching their people and I'm going, go, attack, let's do it. Let's talk about under stress. Under stress, what do D's do?
Okay, so here we go. I've got this great graphic for everybody, and I hope that
Nice.
everybody can see it.
Yep, we can see it.
And this is really all about, what does the conscientious style do? They'll withdraw. The
Yep.
dominant style, you become a dictator. Do it my way or get the highway, right? A steady style, they'll submit, even though they might not necessarily understand why they're submitting.
Yep.
And an influencer, they're just going to disregard and say, see you later, buddy. So it's really about, how do you understand what the needs are? So let's talk a little bit more about the needs. So if you're an influencer, your needs is, you want to get credit, you need to be act and interact, and you need to quick pace in order to get excitement, and you love prestige. So in your case, if you're even working with a team, let's even not talk about sales, because now we're talking about the world and the landscape has changed as far as how are we dealing with our teams, because now most of us are remote or work from home, and we don't know how to navigate that because they're not physically beside us. And so now you've got to really understand, because everybody is stressed out. Everybody's worried about their jobs, or they've lost their jobs, or as leaders, we're worried about, how do we keep our team motivated? How do we keep our team moving forward? And so when we understand how somebody how it reacts in their natural style, as opposed to their adaptive style, then we have a win, because now we're able to say, okay, now let's adapt my personality to meet the personality of that other person, to motivate them, to move them forward, move them through the sale, or move them to the next project, and so forth. And so this is a really great tool, and I'll happily share it underneath the Facebook as an image afterwards.
Yep.
So people can really look at it and go through it and really understand and use it as a tool, as it should be.
So when you understand this, all right, so I've got a good question here, because I'm a high D, obviously, but I also have a pretty significant I. But my adaptive style, right? My adaptive style in the workplace is a significant jump. And I understand with the disc, if there's a jump of what, 20 or more points, you're exerting an enormous amount of energy. And
Yes.
so I've tried to understand that. Why, when I get into a work environment, does the D become so dominant and the I? Because I'm a social person. If you get me outside of the workplace, I'm fun, I joke, I'm easygoing, I smile. But when in the workplace, the D really overtakes the I. Talk a little bit about that adaptive style. And if you're exerting a lot of force, am I trying to be something I'm not? Help me to understand, so people watching this can understand when a person is adapting so much, why they're adapting.
Yeah, well, I think there's a number of reasons why people adapt. It could be environment, it could be the team that they're working with, it could be, pressures. There could be, tax pressures. There could be influencer pressures. There could be pressures at home. There could be all kinds of things. And when you adapt your personality style, it can fluctuate from day to day, right? Like you and I both know, oh man, I had, a fight with my husband yesterday, and you bring it to work. Well, your adaptive style, you might be more high I that day, because you might be a little bit more sensitive or what have you, as opposed to the next day when somebody's pissed you off and you now have your D come into play, right? So the adaptive style does fluctuate back and forth. But it's not changing essentially who you are at the core. You're still that person at the core. But how do you react in the situations of crisis is really how your adaptive style changes.
Now, how to the leader. So let's go back to the crisis. And I'm seeing on there the conscientious style. They're probably really freaking out right now, right? Especially if they're salespeople. I mean, their natural tendency is to withdraw. Because it says may appear over reliant on data and documentation. Well, what if they're getting bad data? What if they're getting fed? What I mean by bad data is what appears to be bad information. Like this is not a positive time. This is a negative time. How would you motivate them?
Well, I think you have to reassure them, first of all. Their biggest fear, I think, and that's the thing, Coach, that we want to talk about, is what is the biggest fears of people, right? Yeah. So a conscientious style, their biggest fear is that they're wrong.
Wow.
So it'll stop them from moving forward because they don't want to be wrong. You're the leader. You better make sure that you step up to the plate and reassure them that it is okay if it's wrong. It is okay if the data is wrong. We're navigating through a time of crisis right now. Nobody has the answers. Nobody's been in this situation before. So I think, it's understanding their fears of who they are and what essentially at their core is happening.
Okay, good. So basically what we're talking about today is the disc gives you, and I'm not surprised at how accurate it is, but it's incredibly accurate. I don't know how Tony Alessandro come up with this, that it's so accurate. I really don't. I don't know what the magic formula is. I don't know. But I think about Chelsea, my new president of the company, and her personality style and my personality style. And it's very important. And let me make a point to all the people out there watching, is that how we interact with each other either speeds up the process or slows down the process. If we're constantly spending time going back and forth on the concept, if we don't have a high trust level with each other, if when we do disagree, how do we handle disagreement? How does she present ideas to me? How do I present ideas to her? I think the more I'm into this, and obviously I got certified in the disc, the more I really understand this, it more than anything, it speeds up the process. It helps you to truly understand each other at a deeper level so you can move faster versus all of this time with emotions and all of the things that people, because you really understand, okay, this is how they're going to respond.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I get told all the time, Lisa, you are the connector. I mean, you have all these people and all these different networks, and how did you build it? And I really didn't understand, to be honest with you, Coach, how I was navigating getting all these connections and just making these lasting long relationships until I started to understand from Tony the disc profile and what I was really doing. I just didn't know I was naturally doing it. I just didn't know that those were the communication strategies that I was doing. And the biggest thing I think for anybody, and I don't care if you're a coach, if you're a CEO, if you're, just starting out in your career and you're watching this, the biggest thing and the most success is one, knowing who you're talking, who's the other person. So asking good questions. And you talk about that all the time. And then let's talk about like the millionaire follow-up. Like that is, you have to follow up and you have to be relentless about it. And using some of these communication strategies that I put up on the stream, specific for those people is really important. So you talk about Chelsea, and of course, I have a good relationship with Chelsea, so I know her well, and I know that her style is influence. So one of the things that, as a coach and as her boss, you're always going to allow her to set the pace. And when you start to allow her to set the pace, you will see massive results with somebody who has an I personality. And so these are really great tips and tools to help somebody navigate through conversations and through follow-up. Because if you're follow-up wrong with the wrong type of personality, you can beat your head against the wall. And you and I talked about that when I was down in Tennessee, about how you can beat your head up against the wall until you realize that particular person was a conscientious style, and it all came to sense.
All right. One of the things you said, and I got time for one or two more questions here that I think is really critical. I wrote a book on this somewhere in here. Yeah, here it is. $1 Million Follow-Up. Okay. Now, this is very important. I believe that many times it may take 7 to 15 touches to convert a prospect to a client. That's a statistical number across most disciplines. But the way you follow up, this is what has changed since I went through and learned the disc.
Yeah.
The way I used to follow up, Lisa, was everything. I'm a hammer and everything's a nail, right? So if Lisa hasn't taken action, I'm going to bang on Lisa. I'm going to push Lisa. I'm going to elbow. I'm going to go, come on, Lisa, let's go. What are you waiting on, right? Then I go through the disc profile and I go, you know what? The way I'm following up has cost me a lot of money. The effort was there, but the methodology was wrong. And the methodology was wrong because I had a missing ingredient. And the missing ingredient was I didn't understand how to communicate the way they wanted to be communicated. Okay. And so talk a little bit about that one thing, because a lot of people are following up right now. That's what they got time to do, right? We're following up. We're touching base. Right. And so if you understand this, and we can do this assessment for you, you go to monsterassessments.com. We can do an assessment for you. We can break it down. I've got one company that's hiring me right now. They're going to do assessments with their management team. Then we're going to do a full day at my lodge, coaching them and how to coach to the assessment, which is going to increase speed, increase morale, increase culture, increase motivation. It's going to be a lot of outcomes because of this. But talk about that in the follow-up, Lisa, because if you're going 7 touches and you're following up with me, you don't want to use the wrong style if you understand my personality style, right?
Exactly. So, let's talk about the conscientious, because he's the opposite of who you are, he or she. Now, the conscientious person, really, when you're having the follow-up, if you're talking small talk, they're gone. They're not interested in small talk. They're not interested in making friends. But what they are interested in is data and analytics and logic. And so if you can provide the right documentation to show them exactly what the value of your coaching is going to do, or the value of your product or your service, you're going to win them. And you're probably going to decrease those number of follow-ups accordingly, right? Yeah. Because you've actually given them what they need, not what you think they need. Right. Very important.
Well, this has been fascinating. Thank you, Lisa, for coming on with me and talking about the profile. You're an expert here, and you've really dug into this. And being the connector that you are, part of connecting is understanding how to get the attention of other people, how to keep the attention of other people, how to feed them the information they need. I just have come to believe in my lifetime that this is a tremendous competitive advantage. When you understand this, you can sell at a higher frequency, you can communicate, you can recruit better. I mean, there is no way in the world I would ever hire another person on my team without going through them taking the DISC assessment.
And here's the other thing, coaches, you're building a network of coaches. And if you are a coach out there and you do not have assessments in your business and you're not certified, then you got to reach out to coach, because he can help you with that. He can get you certified. He can bring you into the monster assessment world. And he can also help you with some of the processes that he uses, right, coach? That's on right. How you coach your clients. That's so right. It's really important. Like, so many businesses are missing structures in their business, just like you were missing the structure of assessments. Yeah. That's the, huge win for everyone who's involved. Not only do you get a missing structure that you can drive revenue from, but you also get to really feed off of relationships. And that's the value. And we're all feeling it right now in crisis, because we're all Zooming. We're all like, imagine that, how many more Facebook Lives are happening right now.
Yeah. Well, I do believe that your net worth is attached to your network. And I believe how you communicate, some of the top money earners in the world are masterful at connecting to people. Okay. Yeah. And I think too many people miss that as a hard skill. That is a hard primary skill, the ability to connect to people, the ability to relate to people, the ability to get on the phone with people, the ability, right? So this assessment.
100%. And I think too, coach, you got to be able to see beyond the obvious for somebody else, right? You've got to be able to understand what they need and then position it in a way that is accepted by them. And for the D, that it's their own idea.
Of course it is. Of course it's my idea. Now, here's the point, guys. If you're interested, go to monsterassessments.com. We can get your assessment. This is a perfect time to do this. One of the number one things you can do right now is understand yourself. Understand why you handle things the way you do. Understand how you handle things in times of crisis. Understand how you handle stimulus. Understand how you work with other people, or it's difficult to work for. My wife wrote a book called Living with the Monster. And, it's how do you live with a obsessed person? So, Lisa, thank you for joining us today. We're going to post some things in here for you. You go to monsterassessments.com. We can get your assessment taken care of. This is a perfect time to know you, know your team.
And if they want these cards that are all around the DISC, they can reach out to you as well. I've already set it all up with Chelsea. So easy tool to navigate through for teams and sales processes.
Guys, we're looking for every advantage we can get right now. And if you gave me this much advantage, you know what I would do? I would take it. Okay. I only need this much to win. Okay. So Lisa, thank you for joining us. Love you. Appreciate you.
Bye, guys.